Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first-world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity, and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first-world Philippines with pure renewable energy. Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first-world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity, and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first-world Philippines with pure renewable energy. Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first-world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity, and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first-world Philippines with pure renewable energy. Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first-world Philippines with pure renewable energy. Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first-world Philippines with pure renewable energy.
Good afternoon, everyone. The 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting of Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation will begin shortly. Thank you.
Solar, wind, and run-of-river. Channeling these renewable titans can help the country secure a 50% renewable energy share in power generation by 2040. That's what we do. We are Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, or CREC, supporting the government in powering a first world Philippines through pure renewable energy. CREC has a growing presence in solar generation through 285 megawatts of gross installed capacity and recently secured 61% of total auction quota for ground mount solar in the 2024 Philippine Green Energy Auction Program. This is part of a planned 5 gigawatts increase in 5 years, adding installed solar capacity in the short term, expanding to solar assets with battery storage, onshore wind and run-of-river in the medium term, and developing offshore wind projects in the long term. This is possible through in-house end-to-end development capabilities, strong adherence to regulations and governance, and partner communities that help plant seeds for education and livelihood. We are CREC, a Philippine-focused company channeling the renewable titans of solar, wind, and run-of-river to help secure energy resiliency for the country. Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation, powering a first world Philippines with pure renewable energy.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting of Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation. If you look at the right side of your screen, there is a chat box. Please state therein if you can clearly hear and see us, or if you're having any difficulties. Feel free to type in the chat box any comments or questions you may have. We will address this during the question and answer portion of this ASM. Now, we begin by acknowledging the presence of our Board of Directors and Corporate Secretary. Chairman, Mr. Edgar B. Saavedra. Director, Chief Executive Officer, and President, Mr. Oliver Y. Tan. Director and Treasurer, Mr. Manuel Louis B. Ferrer. Director and Chief Investor Relations, Corporate Communications and Branding Officer, Ms. Abigail Joan R. Cosico. May I now introduce CREC's independent directors, starting with General Roy A. Simatu. Independent Director, Mr. Leonilo G. Coronel. Independent Director, Attorney Efiro Luis B. Amatong. We would also like to introduce CREC's Corporate Secretary, Attorney Danica C. Evangelista. We also acknowledge the presence of the representatives from Isla Lipana and Company, CREC's external auditor. Let us start with the prayer, followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Dear Lord, we humble ourselves to you as we start our activity today. We praise you for giving us multiple opportunities to build a better future and ultimately create a greener and more sustainable country. Please continue to guide us as we harness your natural given resources, which will help us power our country as we empower our communities. May you give us the wisdom, the strength, and the heart to shine as champions of green energy. And help us remember that in all that we do to give back to our planet and the people that we serve. Amen.
Ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang mag-ibig, kaya sa sinakalan, alam ng
Thank you. We now call on our chairman, Mr. Edgar B. Saavedra, to formally begin our 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting.
Good afternoon. As Chairman of the Board, I hereby call to order this 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting of Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Now, kindly refer to the agenda flash on your screen. I now call on our Corporate Secretary to certify that the notices were sent and that a quorum exists to conduct this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certify that the notice and agenda for this ASM were sent to the stockholders of record as of July 17, 2024. To give you more details, the notice was immediately disclosed to the Philippine Stock Exchange, Inc. on June 20, 2024, upon its approval by the Board of Directors and released in the PSE EDGE as a circular. The notice and agenda, together with CREC's annual report and information statement, were then distributed to the stockholders on July 17, 2024. The information statement and CREC's website also contain instructions on how the stockholders may vote, submit their proxies, and participate in the ASM. All these were completed in compliance with the requirements of CREC's bylaws, the revised Corporation Code, and the issuances of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Mr. Chairman, I also certify that we have a quorum to conduct this meeting, given that stockholders representing 79.17% of the outstanding capital stock of CREC, or 7,068,555,143 shares, are participating in person, in absentia, or by proxy herein.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Can you discuss the voting procedure for this meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting procedure for this ASM is as follows. 1. All the stockholders of record at the close of business on July 17, 2024 are entitled to the notice and to vote at this meeting. 2. The matters in the agenda shall be decided by a majority vote of the stockholders, except in cases where the law provides otherwise. The voting results shall be discussed with each agenda item. 3. The stockholders were given the opportunity to vote in absentia from July 17 until 11:59 p.m. of August 5, 2024 through an online voting portal prepared by CREC. Only the stockholders who were validated by CREC's stock transfer agent, Stock Transfer Services, Inc., were allowed to vote in absentia. The stockholders were also permitted to submit proxy forms until July 31, 2024 through electronic mail or personal service. Each of the votes cast in absentia and by proxy shall be considered cast for all the shares of such stockholder. And lastly, CREC's stock transfer agent tabulated the votes cast in absentia and by proxy, which were then confirmed by CREC's external auditor, Isla Lepana & Co.
Let us now proceed with the approval of the minutes of the annual stockholders meeting held on August 8, 2023. I understand that copies of such minutes have been distributed and posted in CREC's website.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I am Lalaine Rosales, a stockholder of CREC. I move to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the annual stockholders meeting held on August 8, 2023, and move to approve the minutes as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I am Stephen C., proxy for Citicorp Power Inc., and I second the motion.
There is a motion duly made and seconded that the minutes of the August 8, 2023 annual stockholders meeting be approved. Ms. Secretary, may we know the voting results on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, based on the votes cast, 100% of the quorum are in favor of approving the motion.
Considering that all of the votes made were for the approval of this agenda item, the motion is approved.
We shall now go to the President's report.
My fellow shareholders, When we crafted our strategy in 2023 to go public, we were faced with several obstacles. Financial markets were unstable, global economies were poised for a slowdown, geopolitical tensions were intensifying, and interest rates remained elevated. These were mere general strokes that painted a gloomy business environment and poor investor appetite that did not bode well for an initial public offering. But we firmly believe in our value proposition and how critical our business offering is to the pressing issues of the country, specifically energy deficiency and the entire world, global warming, and climate change. Serving these purposes, we reckon were enough rationale for us to pursue the listing of Citycore Renewable Energy Corporation in the coming year. Part of the courage we mustered is confidence that we will be able to deliver as we have been preparing for this journey for the past 8 years, laying down the tracks that will take us to our port of call, a first world Philippines powered by pure renewable energy. Others may have switched off against an overcast landscape, but we rev up and set the course for our next stop. 5 gigawatts of clean energy in 5 years, enabled by our proven engineering DNA and end-to-end development and operational capabilities. With our destination in sight, we build up speed and fed our engine through a combination of pioneering financing activities, securing new projects, sustaining pipeline delivery, and strengthening foundations in ESG. Our existing 10 solar power plants that are strategically placed all over the Philippines with a combined gross installed capacity of 285 megawatt delivered a 32% increase in revenue compared to the previous year. The 3.68 billion pesos in revenue is comprised of 3 main revenue streams, with sale of electricity being the largest profit driver, lease income arising from operating lease agreements of CREC, and service fees. EBITDA also improved to 1.51 billion pesos and net income of 910 million pesos during the year, with the promise of building further on these gains as we ramp up our capacity and operations. Together with these financial results are critical milestones for CREC. We made one of our biggest headways through the Department of Energy's Green Energy Auction Program, where CREC won the largest solar capacity equivalent to capacities of 430 megawatt AC for ground-mounted solar and 362 megawatt AC of onshore wind, totaling to 792 megawatt AC of renewable energy capacity. We also raised capital to accelerate the rollout of our pipeline through 2 landmark financing deals, the listing of our subsidiary CREC's oversubscribed 4.5 billion pesos maiden ASEAN Green Bond offering, and the $100 million mezzanine green loan facility, which committed an initial tranche of $30 million for a portfolio of 6 solar power projects with a gross capacity of 490 megawatts through Pentagreen Capital, a joint venture between HSBC and Temasek. We expanded our operations with the completion of the 115 megawatt Arayat, Mexico solar farm, a joint venture with AC Energy, in March 22 of last year. We also started construction on the largest solar plant in Batangas, Citycore Solar Batangas 1 and 2, located in Tuy, Batangas. We also sealed a milepost agreement with SM Prime Holdings Inc. to supply their energy requirements of up to 90 megawatts from a segment in the Tuy plant. We have covered a significant distance in our journey and simultaneously strengthened our commitment with the environment, our stakeholders, and partner communities. We are cognizant that every business decision we make impacts their way of life, and integrating ESG principles into all aspects of our operations should be fundamental. Through Citycore Foundation, we commit 3 key programs to our communities: environment, education, and employment, each addressing their needs while aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Without a doubt, our flagship foundation project is the Citycore Agro-Solar Program. which combines food security with renewable energy generation by planting crops underneath and around solar panels. Since the program's inception in 2021, we have harvested over 12,700 kilograms of high-value crops like napa, cabbage, eggplant, and chili. We are now testing crops like watermelon and purple yams in our agro-solar locations. Currently, 25 farmer partners from the local communities benefit from income augmentation through this project, while proceeds fund more Citicorp Foundation programs that include community development, training to employment, educational assistance, and environmental protection and conservation. We are quite certain that as we grow as a company from where we were last year, we will also be able to promote the dual purpose of agricultural and industrial use for bigger parcels of land and share our advocacies to more farmer communities and their families. This was our 2023, the year we lit our engines and blazed forward on tracks we started building 8 years ago. To all our partner communities, trade and financial allies, government regulators and champions, investors, and most importantly, our employees, thank you very much for making history with our company as we continue to power on. The sun is on the horizon and the way is clear to powering a first world Philippines with pure renewable energy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let us proceed with the next agenda item.
The next agenda item is the ratification of all acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors and Management until August 7, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I am Lalaine Rosales, a stockholder of CREC, and I move that all acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors and Management until August 7, 2024 be ratified.
Mr. Chairman, I am Stephen C., proxy for CPI, and I second the motion.
There is a motion duly made and seconded for the ratification of all acts of the Board of Directors and Management. Ms. Secretary, may we know the voting results on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, based on the votes cast, 100% of the quorum have approved this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the ratification of the company's audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2023. I understand that audited financial statements have been distributed with the annual report, information statement, disclosed in the PSC Edge, and posted in CREC's website.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I am Stephen C., proxy for CPI. I move that CREC's financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2023, as audited by Isla Lipana and Company, be approved.
Mr. Chairman, I am Lalaine Rosales, a stockholder of CREC, and I second the motion.
There is a motion duly made and seconded for the approval of the audited financial statements of CREC for the year ended December 31, 2023. Ms. Secretary, may we know the voting results on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, based on the votes cast, 100% of the quorum are in approval of this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Motion is approved. Next item on the agenda is the election of directors.
Mr. Chairman, CREC's Remuneration and Human Capital Committee has submitted the final list of 7 nominees found to be qualified for election as members of the board of CREC.
Please state the names of the nominees, Ms. Secretary.
The nominees are Mr. Edgar B. Saavedra as Director, Mr. Oliver Y. Tan as Director, Mr. Manuel Louis B. Ferrer as Director, Ms. Abigail Joan R. Cosico as Director, Mr. Leonilo G. Coronel as Independent Director, Attorney Efiro Luis B. Amatong as Independent Director, and General Roy A. Simatu as Independent Director. The foregoing list includes 3 nominees found to be qualified for election as independent directors in compliance with the requirements of the relevant laws, rules, and regulations for publicly listed companies.
Mr. Chairman, since there are 7 nominees for the 7 board seats to be filled up, I move that the 7 nominees be deemed elected as directors for the ensuing year. This is Elaine Rosales, a stockholder of CREC.
Mr. Chairman, I am Stephen C., proxy for CPI, and I second the motion.
There is a motion duly made and seconded for the election of the nominees mentioned as the members of the Board of Directors. Ms. Secretary, please tell us the voting results on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, the results of the election of the members of the board are being flashed on the screen. All of the stockholders who are present or are being represented in this meeting have approved the election of the 7 nominees as members of the Board of Directors for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Motion is passed. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the external auditor. Upon the recommendation of the CREC's Audit, Risk, and Oversight Committee, the Board of Directors proposed that Isla Lipana and Company be appointed as the external auditor.
Mr. Chairman, I am Stephen C., proxy for CPI. I move to appoint Isla Lepania and Company as the external auditor of CREC.
Mr. Chairman, I am Elaine Rosales, a stockholder of CREC, and I second the motion.
There is a motion duly made and seconded for the appointment of Isla Lipanan and Company as the external auditor of CREC. Ms. Secretary, may we know the voting results on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, based on the votes cast, 100% of the quorum have approved this agenda item.
Motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Secretary.
We are now moving on to our question and answer portion. To our audience, please enter your questions in the chat box on the right side of your screens. Questions will be entertained on a first-come, first-served basis. For good order, please state your name and affiliation. We request everyone to limit your questions to 1 main question and 1 follow-up question. Thank you. We received the following questions from our shareholders prior to the ASM. For our first question, does CREC have a dividend policy? May we request Ms. Abigail Joan Cosico to answer the question.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the question. CREC has a dividend policy in place. This is 30% of the previous year's unrestricted earnings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cosico. For our next question, given the emergence of several renewable energy companies in the country, what sets CREC apart from its competitors? May we request Mr. Oliver Tan to take this question.
Good afternoon. CREC's unique business, vertically integrated business model set us apart from our competitors. We are a greenfield developer and we understand how to navigate the various challenges in developing greenfield projects. We also do through our affiliate, we do the engineering, procurement, and construction in-house. And post-energization, we do the operation and maintenance of all our solar plants in-house as well. So this unique vertically integrated business model gives us price competitiveness and speed to execution.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. We receive another question from the audience. The question is, now that you have 2 listed companies, why should the general public invest in both CREIT and CREC? Mr. Tan, can you also take this question?
CREC and CREIT have unique business model, although they are complementary. CREIT is the largest renewable energy landlord to date, And as CREC continue to grow its pipeline projects, its leasable asset will continue to grow, while CREC is the developer and the power generation company behind or the tenants that's giving the least recurring income to CREIT. So if you are looking for a dividend play, CREIT will be more ideal. Although CREC can also be a dividend play because of our huge pipeline projects and the plan to eventually infuse this asset as and when they are energized into CREIT, therefore book one-time gain and be able to declare significant dividend as well. And because of the huge pipeline projects, it will continue to book new projects and in the future will have a strong recurring income as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tan, for the profound answer. There's also another question from our audience. The question is, you recently announced your partnership with San Miguel, adding to your partnership with ASEN. Can we expect more JV projects with other big players? Mr. Tan, can you also take this question? Thank you.
The partnership with San Miguel is a unique proposition such that two entities will be able to leverage on its unique strength. In terms of potential partnership with other entities, this will be approached on a case-to-case and an opportunistic basis.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. Another question from our audience. What is CREC's current gross installed capacity? Mr. Tan, can you also take this question?
CREC's current gross installed capacity is at 285 megawatt. This composed of 10 different solar farms across the Philippines.
Thank you. Another question. What can we expect from Citicorp in the coming years? Maybe also request Mr. Tan to answer the question.
We have a robust pipeline projects. The goal is to build and energize 1 gigawatt of new solar every year until 2028. So currently we are already constructing the first batch of the 1 gigawatt worth of solar project. We intend to complete by next year. This will start to contribute revenue and income to CREC. And thereafter, as we continue to build and energize 1 gigawatt every year, we expect that CREC's revenue and net income will continue to grow significantly, as well as contribute to the lease income growth and asset portfolio growth of CREIT.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, do you want to add something?
I guess what I can say for the investors, this is a good time for if you want to invest in a company where there is a significant pipeline or significant pipeline of projects because if you look at the story of the CREC in the next year, we expect 13, 14 projects which will be completed, which means from 285 of capacity, this will be further increased progressively as we complete the 12 to 13 projects. So that means bottom line will increase because new revenue, new earnings. So I think Oliver Tan mentioned earlier the beauty of CREC because this is the development company. So the beauty of this is the growth is significant on year because for every asset we complete the construction, it adds up additional revenue. So for the investors, this is a good time for you to invest, especially if you want a capital appreciation at the same time also with dividends. And thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For our last question, with over 1,000 megawatt coming into completion by end of 2024, may we know how early CREC will be able to recognize the revenue from the sale of electricity from these new plants? Thank you. Anyone from our directors can answer the question, please. Thank you.
The sale of electricity will be recognized as top-line revenue by CREC once these plants start to generate power. The first batch of the first gigawatt plants are under the JAP round 2, so the off-taker would be through Transco.
Thank you, Mr. President. To our audience and stockholders, please note that we will respond via email to the other questions we receive today.
Are there further questions or matters to be raised?
No further questions or matters, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Thank you. This ASM is hereby adjourned.
That concludes CREC's 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. Let's power on.
Hello, Directors Efiro and Director Topper.